Hello everyone and welcome. Good afternoon. Hope things have been going well. Been a fantastic weekend for Newcastle United. Back on track. A great comeback against West Ham. A huge 6-pointer. It's one in our favour. The women's team yesterday won 5-1, and because of results elsewhere, 2 weeks time at Kingston Park, if they win that match, title winners, you will see a trophy presentation after the game in 2 weeks. So fantastic time to be a Newcastle fan. Of course, Everton tomorrow at St James's Park. I'm confident actually, even with all the injuries which we'll talk about in a bit, and I know it's April Fool's Day, but you're probably looking straight away. Paolo Maldini to Newcastle now. You look at the title, you look at the thumbnail, you'll be thinking, what? But I promise you, he's in the shortlist. He's actually an option Newcastle United is looking at. We'll get through all of that today about the possibility and the probability of, once again, someone from AC Milan actually joining Newcastle. So we'll look at all of that in this video. Got quite a lot to get into, and I wanted to start off briefly by talking about the Lascelles stuff yesterday. I was at the women's match at Kingston Park, enjoying what was actually quite a nice Sunday. I'll look on Twitter. 6 to 9 months ACL tear. The exact same injury as Sven Bottom. Lascelles comes in, replaces him 10 minutes, and he gets the exact same injury. What are the chances of that? Now, in the game as well, Lascelles went back onto the pitch. He had an ACL tear and he went back on. Now, I know straight away a lot of people had a good question the medical team go, well, he should have been taken off straight away, which I do agree with. But at the same time, the players also need some responsibility. They need to know when to come off the pitch. He's clearly hurt. Why are you trying to go back home and the guy can't even run? I don't know. He should have got taken off straight away, but the tear was already a tear. And now he's going to be out for a bit of next season. 2 centre-halves already out next season. It's not even this season anymore, it's next season. And because of that, Newcastle now has to look into the summer window. I would have thought Paul Dummett will get a contract extension. Surely the club is going to keep him now because we don't have the centre-halves there. An absolute nightmare. We've got 12 players, potentially, according to Jordan Cronin, from Newcastle World, that are actually out for the game tomorrow. Kieran Trippier might come back in for that game, but if not, it'll be the Fulham match. Everyone else is still weeks away. 12 players. That's half the bloody club. So yeah, it's going to be a tricky one, but I think it'll be fine against Everton. I wanted to get that out the way first, because afterwards we'll talk a bit more about the positive stuff, because I'm just sick of talking about injuries and suspensions at this point. But yeah, potentially 12 players out for the game tomorrow. Newcastle United are currently without a director of football. Dan Ashworth was our guy. Manchester United have knocked on that door. Dan has decided that he wants to leave. He doesn't want to be at Newcastle United anymore, and he's currently taking his gardening leave, which will last for 2 years until his contract at the club expires. Now, it's highly possible and likely that I think Manchester United will buy out his contract and actually pay for the garden leave to get Dan in sooner, which means that Newcastle will get a decent amount of money to spend on the FFP. But of course, that means we are currently looking at options to bring in. One of those options is Paolo Maldini. He was the AC Milan director. We've actually had a back and forth with Maldini before. It was actually a battle between Dan Ashworth and Paolo Maldini to bring in Sven Botman. Maldini was speaking to Botman on the phone, but despite that, despite the history and the heritage of AC Milan, 7 times Champions League winners, a team that is always going to be at the top of the Serie A. Newcastle were able to get Botman in. Their main key target were able to actually outwit and outbattle Maldini to get him. But in this case, would you bring him to Newcastle? Yeah, he's definitely an option we should be looking at. There's quite a few actually as well. Hugo Havana, one of our former players, of course, you remember his second goal actually was against Feyenoord in the Champions League. So he's one of the options as well. We'll talk about the other ones in just a moment, but I wanted to have this segment dedicated to Maldini first. Probably the greatest centre-half in football history. Obviously, he's had so much going on during his career. He's had a stint at AC Milan, and he's definitely someone that Newcastle should get the ball rolling with. Not necessarily maybe your number one choice to go in for, but definitely is an option there. A decent possibility. He's currently looking for a job. Would he want to go to Newcastle? I'm pretty sure Newcastle, with our ownership and I think where the club is now, most directors that are available will like to Newcastle job. Most people would want to go to Newcastle, and when it comes towards potentially bringing someone in, it's not like a transfer sign where you're trying to get a new striker, trying to get a centre midfielder. It's quite easy to bring a director in if they understand the project, if they believe in the project, if they want to stay at Newcastle for a decent amount of time, they want to invest into the club. It'd be quite easy to bring your targets in, so it's just about Newcastle, Amanda, Murder, Darren Eales, making sure that they look at the right options. We're not going to buy this player in, we're not going to get Maldini in because of his name, we're going to get Maldini in because we believe in the director of football. He's our best option, he's our most suitable option for Newcastle, and it's just about looking through each and every single person, which we're going to do in this video now. So, other than Paolo Maldini, what options have actually been weighed up so far and have been put on our shortlist? Mark Douglas, a journalist, has put out an exclusive article actually looking at Newcastle United's shortlist for the next director of football. Credible source, he knows what he's talking about, and he's actually looked at the real possibility of who Newcastle are trying to bring in. The two that we mentioned before, of course, Maldini and Havana, but the third that he haven't mentioned yet, and is actually the front runner currently, is a guy called Paul Mitchell. And for those of you who don't know who he is, he's currently the head of recruitment at Monaco, but he's done experience at Southampton and Tottenham before, also as a head of recruitment. Now, during his time in the Premier League, he's the only one with Premier League experience actually in the shortlist. But at Southampton, he helped bring the likes of Pele in, he's helped bring the likes of Klein in, Yoshida, Dusan Tadic, and of course the big one being Sadio Mane before he went to Liverpool, class players. When he went to Tottenham, he helped bring the likes of Dele Alli in, unreal player, Kieran Trippier, Toby Alderweireld, Heung-min Son. Again, he's really helped Tottenham, especially in the middle 2010s, and Southampton as well, two class teams at the time. He's helped rejuvenate them and actually get some top players in. And since then, he's went back to Monaco in France. But someone that, I mean, straight away, you look at his resume, you look at his experience, someone that is qualified, he clearly knows what he's doing, he's someone that's worked a lot before, and for Newcastle's safe bet, you know what you're getting with him, he's someone that's had that experience in the Premier League. You give him that money, you give him your targets, what he's going to look for. In terms of recruitment, his background does all the work for him. He doesn't need to have a big name to know his work. He's someone that's done quite a good job. So even though you might hear a name like Maldini straight away and you're thinking, you get excited, oh my god, it's such a big name, Paolo Maldini. But the reality is, in a director of football in the sense, Paul Mitchell, yeah, he's someone that's already got the experience, and for Newcastle, it's the safer bet to go for, so it makes quite logical sense that he would be a #1 target for Newcastle. Hugo Vanna, someone obviously that I never got a chance to watch in Newcastle, but I think a lot of fans have quite fond memories of him, even though he never probably reached the potential he could have done at the club. But someone, again, he's there, if the option is available in Newcastle, we're currently looking at him, and Paolo Maldini, the big one that we've kind of dedicated this video to. I'm excited to see we bring him. Has to be done soon as well, because you want to ideally get them in just in time for that summer window, so we can heavily invest at the end of the season. And where we finish in the league is going to heavily dictate what kind of players we can bring in based on merit. So obviously European football, you're able to bring better stars in because you've got the European football attraction at the club. Like Bruno, Isak, Botman, your big players still at the club. Having that European football there helps the stability, helps to keep those players here. Listen lads, we've got this season, let's go and do it. But without European football, I think it's tricky. It's why I'm quite concerned over the next few games, how important I will say now it is that we actually continue to pick up those wins and continue to shoot ourselves up the table. It's doable. Obviously Brighton lost, Newcastle are picking up a good win against West Ham. Beat the teams around us and just win the matches we need to win. We'll be fine. I think we'll get it. And depending on how the English teams do in European football as well, you can potentially get the extra position in the league because of the top 2 countries in the world now actually getting additional European spots based on how teams do in European competition. So I've got a lot to go for. Let's keep going. But yeah, guys, who would you actually want? You had the chance now. Let's see. I was going to give you 3 options. Would you want Paul Mitchell, Paolo Maldini, or Hugo Havana? Who would you actually want to bring into Newcastle United as the brand new director to replace Dan Ashworth? Interesting that. I need to have a look more of a think about it actually. I'm still kind of stuck between the 3. Paul Mitchell sounds probably the best on paper, but it's not necessarily going to mean that he's the best director. He just has that Premier League experience. He's already done those things, whereas the other 2, you can argue, are a bit unproven. But I'm interested to see what the club does. Let me know your thoughts down below, guys. I wish you all the best. We'll see you tomorrow for the game against Everton. I'm confident. We'll talk about it in the video more, but I think Newcastle will win the game even before the injuries. I think we'll get the job done. It's up to us though to show what we can do and just to make sure we get these results in. I said it before, the West Ham game has to be 7 points this week. We've got the 3 against West Ham. Needs to be at least 4 more in the next 2 for us to continue pushing up that tier. We've got to get these results in now. It's now or never, I think, for this season. But take care, guys. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you all in the next one.